Hey guys, so I'm gonna get started with reading The One and Only Bob, and it is a sequel, so if you have not read The One and Only Ivan, I definitely recommend that you should read it. Normally I would not do a read aloud without having read it first, but this just got released today, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. Um, I, oh, I've been waiting for this forever. I can't even explain how excited I am. So we're just going to hop into it, and pretty much everything by Christina Applegate is amazing. She's just phenomenal. I know several of you have read Crenshaw in my class, and the Wish Tree. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're just going to get into it so I don't get all wild. And warning for you guys, every time I read The One and Only Ivan to my class, I cry, so I know that this one might be emotional too, but I don't know because I haven't read it yet. So here we go. The One and Only Bob. Let's do this. Okay, so it starts off with a canine glossary, and it's got some pictures on it I want to show you of the different ways that the dogs are. One of them says, let's play, life's good, get lost, I'm scared, I'm cool, and I surrender. So the canine glossary: bed boogie, a circular dance performed by dogs before settling into bed, probably a primitive nesting behavior. Co-pilot, dog riding in car, often with head poking out of an open window. See also drool flag. Ew. Crazy mutt, exuberant greeting ritual. Drool flag, visible tongue protrusion, frequently displayed during co-piloting or meal preparation. Frap, frenetic random activity period. Synonym is zoomies. So, oh my gosh, I know Miss Sophia used to do zoomies when she was young. Full wag, the happiest tail position, a relaxed circular swish, sometimes including hip wiggles. Oh my gosh, and it keeps going. There's so many pages. I love it. Okay, so we've got more of the glossary. Fur on alert, raised hair on a dog's neck and back, an involuntary reaction often caused by fright or aggression. Head tilt, quizzical look employed to charm gullible humans. Leave it, the world's worst command, especially when applied to food. Meeball, dried excrement thrown at observers, origin, gorilla, informal. Play bow, body position with elbows down, rear up, signaling an invitation to have fun. Rhymes with pet threat, vet, an otherwise kind human armed with thermometers and needles. Tailspin, and this has two definitions. The first one, chase involving the flexible appendage attached to the rear of most canines. And two, informal, an embarrassing or quixotic effort. Toe twitcher, a dream, often squirrel-focused, resulting in foot movement. Tug of war string, a long, though never long enough, piece of fabric or leather used to lead humans during walks. UFO, this one has three definitions. An unidentified food object, often found under kitchen tables or couch cushions. 2, unidentified floor object, hopefully edible. And 3, unidentified flying object, ideally a stick, flying disc, or slobber-covered tennis ball. Water bowl of power, two definitions. The first one, jumbo-sized ceramic dish, too uncomfortable human chair, generally found in bathrooms. Zoomies, sudden bursts of energy, usually involving chaotic dashes through the house. Informal, see also frap. So we've got our definitions, and we're going to start off with chapter 1. Oh, and I'll have to show you the pictures because as with The One and Only Ivan, there are images that go with it. Confession. Look, nobody's ever accused me of being a good dog. I bark at empty air. I eat cat litter. I roll in garbage to enhance my aroma. I harass innocent squirrels. I hog the couch. I lick myself in the presence of company. I'm no saint, okay? And while I'm at it, I may or may not have eaten a pepperoni pizza with anchovies when no one was looking. Also, I may or may not have eaten a coconut vanilla birthday cake when no one was looking. Also, I may or may not have eaten a Thanksgiving turkey, except for the stuffing, way too much rosemary, when no one was looking. Nobody looking. That seems to be the common thread. As they say, the crime shows motive and opportunity. Oh, as they say on the crime shows, motive and opportunity. Robert. Name's Bob. I'm a mutt of uncertain heritage. Definitely some Chihuahua with a smidgen of Papillion on my father's side. You're probably thinking I'm some wimpy lap dog, the kind you see poking out of an old lady's purse, like a hairy keychain. But size ain't everything. It's swagger, attitude. You gotta have the moves. Probably I should have been named Bruiser, or Bam Bam, or Bandit. But Bob's what I got, and Bob will do me just fine. Julia named me a long time ago. She's my girl. She calls me Robert when I get on her nerves. Happens pretty often, to be honest. Numero uno. There's an old saying about us dogs. Goes like this. It's no coincidence that man's best friend can't talk. Let me tell you something. If we could talk to people, they'd get an earful. You ever hear anyone mention man being dog's best friend? Nope, didn't think so. Way I figured it, end of the day, you gotta be your own best friend. Look out for numero uno. Learned that one the hard way. That's not to say I don't have a best pal. I do. Gorilla, name of Ivan. Big guy, and I go way back. Gorilla and dog. Yep, I know. You don't see it every day. Long story. I love that big ol' ape. Ditto our little elephant friend Ruby. They're the best. How we met. The first time I met Ivan, I was a homeless puppy, desperate, starving, all alone. It was the middle of the night, and I'd slipped into the mall where Ivan lived in a cage. I wandered a bit, grateful for the warmth, confused by the weird assortment of sleeping animals I found there, checking every trash can for anything edible. There was a small hole in a corner of Ivan's enclosure. He was fast asleep, cuddled up with a worn, stuffed animal that looked like a weary gorilla. He was snoring, and man, that guy snored like a pro. In his open palm was a chunk of banana, and I still get shivers when I think about this. I ate it right out of his hand. Guy could have squeezed his fingers shut, and I would have popped like a puppy balloon, but he just kept on sleeping. And then, more shivers. I am either a maniac or the bravest dog on the planet. Probably a little of both. I hopped up onto that big round furry tummy of his. That's right, I climbed Mount Ivan. Crazy, I know. I have no idea what I was thinking. Maybe I was so exhausted I went a little bonkers. Maybe he just looked so warm and cozy that I figured it was worth taking a chance. I did my bed boogie. Dogs don't feel right till we do a quick dance before settling. Once I had things just so, I laid down in a little puppy lump and rode the waves on that tummy like a puny boat on a great brown sea. Oh my gosh, and she has a picture. I can't handle this. This is too cute. Oh my gosh. Ah. Oh my gosh. When Ivan opened his eyes the next morning, he didn't seem surprised in the least to find a puppy snoring on his belly. He refused to move until I woke up. I think he was as glad as I was to have found a new friend. The amazing history of man's best friend. Before long, me and Ivan were best buddies. We're an unlikely pair, sure. Ivan's calm and serene, a philosopher, an artist. I wish I could be more like that. No one's ever accused me of being level-headed. Hot-headed, sure. And I can't talk pretty like Ivan can. I'm a street dog, after all, and proud of it. Still, we clicked, in a way I never had with humans. Man's best friend? No way. Gorilla's best friend. You bet. Seems to me the first time I ever heard that phrase, man's best friend, was while I was watching TV with Ivan. Back in the day, Ivan had this little television, and we watched a lot of stuff together. Old movies, westerns, cartoons, you name it. Poor guy was stuck in a cage. Didn't have a lot else to do except throw meatballs at gaping humans. Ew. Anyway, me and Ivan, big fans of the tube. Cat food commercials, pro bowling, Dancing with the Stars. What's not to like? Once we watched this special on the Nature Channel. It was called The Amazing History of Man's Best Friend. Show was all about famous dogs. There were rescue dogs and therapy dogs and war dogs and fire dogs and movie dogs and this dogs and that dogs. And between you and me, most of them were just plain overachievers. Then they got to this dog named Hatch, something or other. Hatchet Toe, maybe? Seems his owner died. For the record, I object to the word owner, but we'll set that aside for now. And Hatch something or other sat around for over 9 years in the same spot at the same train station, day after day, waiting for him to return. Thing is, The narrator guy was blabbing on and on about the dog, really over the top stuff. How loyal, how loving. Break out the Kleenex. Blah, blah, blah. Wah, wah, wah. Man's best friend. They made a statue of this dog. I kid you not. A statue of the dog who sat around 9 years waiting for a dead guy. In my opinion, that dog was a ninny, a numbskull, a nincompoop. And I love how she writes this. She just has those as the only words on the page. I'm yours. Let me tell you about being man's best friend. Being man's best friend can mean a lot of things. Companionship, belly rubs, tennis balls, but it can also mean a dark, endless highway and an open truck window. Oh. It can mean the smell of the wet wind as hands grab the box you're in with your brothers and sisters and you go sailing into the unkind night and still, crazy as it sounds, you're thinking, but I'm yours, I'm yours, I'm yours. No one. That's what being man's best friend can get you. A black highway, an empty box, and no one in the world but you. Oh my gosh, guys. So what do we know about how Bob became a homeless puppy? Oh, it's awful. Early days. I don't remember much about my early puppy days. It was 3 years ago, but sometimes it feels like 300. Mostly I recall fighting with my sibs for the primo meal spots. Lots of squirming and squeaking, everything soft and milk-smelling and movable, like we were on one great complicated animal. I never met my dad, and my mom didn't say much about him, except that he was trouble. Mom had a beautiful fawn coat, Chihuahua some this, some that, nice, messy bloodline. Mutts rule. Mom crooned to us, told us stories, laid down the law. I wonder if she knew she didn't have much time to prepare us for the world. We were born in a dark place, probably under some porch stairs, I suspect, since I remember the sound of boots plodding up and down, the biting and ugly smell of human feet. They call my mom Rio, and they fed her most days, though sometimes she had to fend for herself. She never showed fear towards them, or respect. Indifference, I guess you'd say. Unless they tried to handle one of us. She growled then, hoping to make it clear that we were hers and hers alone. I myself got picked up a couple times. The hands reached in, grabbed. They were rough and smelled of strange scents, bitter and meaty. My mom's growl made me fearless, and I wriggled and yipped. The hands shoved me back to the warm place where I could sleep and drink and dream in safety. Still I understood in my simple puppy way that dogs belonged to humans, and that was how it would always be. Boss. My mom wasn't much for names. She had a lot of litters. I guess she'd run out of ideas. My brother, first, was Natch, the firstborn. Runt, my youngest bro, was the last. Dot had a little spot on her back, and Yip was always complaining. I was rowdy. Goes without saying. And that left my oldest sister. We called her Boss. Boss was small but mean, with a distinctive, sharp-sounding bark. She could outmaneuver any of us to the best spot for dining. I admired her grit, even if she did get on my nerves. When we got a bit older, less blind, more cocky, I fought her off occasionally, but mostly Boss won. She was fearless, that pup. Alone. The truck happened without warning one night. They threw us in a box, left my mom behind. I can still hear her frantic howls. I landed in a muddy ditch. It was a cloudy night, nearly freezing. Even the moon had abandoned me. And the smells! Everything so wild and unknown. Animals with big jaws and bigger appetites. Birds that swooped in to kill. Death and life all mixed together. I searched for my siblings until the truth became clear. I was utterly alone. Cars. The next morning I began my slow journey, moving through the tall, wet grass, my limbs stiff from the cold. Now and then I'd drink from a mud puddle or gnaw on some grass. By evening I was wobbly with hunger and thirst. I followed the highway. Every time a four-wheeled creature roared by, I froze in fear. And yet, and this is what slays me, I knew that cars meant humans, and humans meant the possibility of living, just as much as they meant the possibility of dying. The owl. And I'm going to show you this picture. Darkness had fallen when it came out of nowhere. The owl. the shadow in a shadow. They don't make a sound, you know. Not a sound. It's quite impressive when you think about it. Luck. Just as her talons, those marvelous weapons, raked my fur, I caught my right front foot in a small hole and stumbled. If she'd gotten hold of my body, I wouldn't be here, but all she managed to do was grab my tail. Only time in my life I've regretted my handsome hindquarters. I was airborne, hanging upside down, dizzy and dazed, and just crazy enough to think, hey, I'm actually flying, before the terror hit full force. I caught a whiff of other animals below. Later I found out they were pocket gophers, but back then I just knew I was smelling something completely foreign. The owl must have decided the gophers would make a more satisfying meal. She let loose her grip, and I plummeted to the earth. More luck. Maybe it was my puppy fat, or my soft bones, or my incredible good fortune, but I didn't die. Didn't even break anything. I'd flown twice in my short life and lived to tell the tale. Will. I found a small hollow at the base of a fallen tree, poked my nose in, and got a swat and a hiss from a grouchy raccoon. Kept going, waddling, whimpering. Lights ahead. New strange smells. Kept going. Kept going. It's amazing how much the sheer will not to die can keep you moving. Exit 8. I finally came to a small road curving off the main highway. Exit 8 turned out to be. A big billboard overhead had a picture of a terrifying animal on it. Of course, I didn't know what a billboard was. Didn't know that the scary animal was a gorilla, let alone that he would become my dearest friend. But something told me to follow the off-ramp. And eventually I ended up at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan. History. I made it to the mall, slept in dirty hay by some garbage bins. The next night I found a hole in Ivan's cage, stole his banana, slept on his belly, and the rest is, as you say, history. For 2 years I lived at that seedy old place that was part mall, part circus, and all crummy. But that was nothing compared to Ivan. He spent 27 lousy years there, and our dear friend Stella, an old circus elephant, was stuck there for most of her life, too. When Stella passed away, it nearly broke Ivan's heart. I tried like crazy to get him through those dark days, but what really saved him, I think, was Ruby, our baby elephant friend. Before Stella died, Ivan promised he'd get Ruby out of this awful place, and to my amazement, he actually pulled it off. Ivan and Ruby and a bunch of other pals ended up going to different places, zoos and sanctuaries that knew how to take care of them. They're with others of their own kind, and they're loved and well cared for. It's been over a year now since we all moved, and they seem much happier. Me? I lucked out. My girl Julia, whose dad had worked at the mall, decided her family needed a dog. Who was I to argue? 2 square meals, my own bed, all the belly rubs I could beg for? What dog in his right mind would say no to that? The best part is we don't live far from Ivan and Ruby. I get to see them all the time. I'm glad they're nearby, and I'm thrilled they'd settled in so well. Really, it's a solid situation. But it's not a perfect one. Tennis ball. The way I understand things, it's like this. We live on a lonely ball called Earth, and humans have basically been throwing it against the wall for so long that the poor old ball is falling apart. It's like me with a tennis ball, chewing away until it's nothing but pieces of slimy rubber that tastes like, well, slimy rubber. And that means there aren't as many places left for wild animals. Seems there are good zoos and bad zoos, and good sanctuaries and bad sanctuaries, just like there are good dog families and bad dog families. The good places are trying to keep wild species healthy and safe. They don't want endangered animals to go away forever. They also don't want the earth to turn into a slimy, dilapidated tennis ball. Although honestly, slimy rubber doesn't taste half bad. You should try it sometime. The thing is, I would give anything to see my dear pal Ivan in the jungles of Africa where he was born, or to see Ruby running across the savannah with a herd of elephants, her big old ears flapping in the wind. I'd give up a mile-high pile of bacon cheeseburgers to see that happen. It really would. But it ain't happening. I get that. And so do they. When you're an animal, it helps to be a realist. So I'm going to stop there. That is part 1. Part 2 is next. And I'm sure I'll be back soon with another video. I hope you guys liked it. And again, if you haven't read The One and Only Ivan, you need to go back and read it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.